In the race, 4 riders have lapped the field in this 10-mile race. The Curachet brothers, numbers 73 and 74, if we ever get a shot of their numbers, along with Paul Dobson, who is from Cambridge, Australia, number 41, and most recently, yet another Argentine rider, number 77, Edgardo Simon. They are safely tucked into the middle of this big pack. Out in front, 2 more riders trying to lap the field are out there. It is Tony Davis, who is the defending Rider of the Year champion, and Tim Quigley from nearby Topton, Pennsylvania, riding in the red and green of IME. But in the middle of that bunch, Paul Dobson, number 41, who is sitting in second spot at the front of the big field right now. The 2 Curachet brothers, who are dressed alike. You can spot them sometimes. They have those tri-spoke wheels on their bikes. And then in the white and blue jersey of Argentina, Edgardo Simon. 3 laps to go in the race. 4 riders have lapped the field. 2 more are trying to do so. And if those 2 riders continue, and they go down. Tim Quigley touched the back wheel of Tony Davis, and they have fired a double gunshot, stopping the race. We have got riders all over the track. Quigley must have just glanced for a second, seeing the field coming up behind him, and touched the wheel of Tony Davis, went down on the track, and now we have guys laying everywhere. They have neutralized the race with just a couple of laps remaining. One of the riders down on the infield is Stephen Pate. And that is a big, bad news problem as far as the Rider of the Year standings are concerned. He is down on the infield. Looking over him there is his teammate, Danny Day, who's now standing up, and another one of the Australian riders. There's Tim Quigley walking away. He is the one that touched the wheel and went down. Just one of those things that happens. But this is a big development in terms of the Rider of the Year standings at the Lehigh County Velodrome. Marty Nothstein circling the track while Stephen Pate is being 10-2 in the infield by his teammates. He appears to be, for the most part, okay. Marty Nothstein definitely got through the traffic without any problem whatsoever, but Pate went down and went down hard after Tim Quigley touched the back wheel of Tony Davis on the turn number 3. Just as the field was about to catch them, Quigley and Davis, who had been away trying to gain a lap, were being swept up by the charging bunch. Stephen Pate up near the front was one of the guys who got caught behind the fallen Tim Quigley and went down hard. Stephen Pate being 10-2 by the medical people. Velodrome director Pat McDonough is there. And he looks like he is definitely not feeling well at all. Stephen Pate, though, is a tough, tough man. And if anyone can return to the track and race here tonight and race well, it will be Stephen Pate. This Australian is one tough guy. He has seen and done worse than this. He'll be back to fight yet another day, and that day is today because he's got to continue racing here if he has any chance of getting his name on the board as a Morning Call Rider of the Year. The race is getting ready to restart, and on the front of the restarted field, it'll be 3 laps to go. The 2 Curachet brothers holding on to each other there. Just off the back of them, we can see Paul Dobson of Australia, and then the other Argentine rider in the white jersey with 2 blue stripes who will be up near the front is Edgardo Simon. Those 4 have lapped the field, so they will be 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place in the event. Now, Marty Nothstein is back in the race on the restart, but Stephen Pate is not. So Marty Nothstein stands in good position as the race has now begun with 3 laps to go of picking up some points here and getting an advantage going into the final race. Not the way he might have liked to have done it because Pate is out of the race, Nothstein is in it, but unless Marty Nothstein gets 1st or 2nd across the line in this bunch here behind the leaders, he will not pick up any points. He has parked himself behind a big lead out of 3 riders now. That's Nothstein in 4th spot. It is coming up on 2 laps to go. It's a big Argentine lead out. Up front, it is number 57, Simon McKenzie. Then the Argentine riders are lined up behind him, and Marty Nothstein sitting in 4th spot. Remember, Stephen Pate is not in the race, so Nothstein needs a good position here. He needs to finish among the first riders to cross the line in order to pick up some Rider of the Year points. A stroke of bad luck for Stephen Pate, good luck for Marty Nothstein. Danny Day, the teammate of Stephen Pate, trying to come around the outside and get onto the wheel of Marty Nothstein. D-Day has now parked himself in there, but he's getting taken up the track by Jose Levito of Argentina. Levito with the flying ponytail, and now Marty Nothstein pointing to the crowd where some people had been heckling him before. He simply inherited a good situation and did not create it, and now Marty Nothstein has picked up very important points towards the Rider of the Year standings. That will give him a decided advantage going into the final race. Marty Nothstein, benefiting from some bad luck to Stephen Pate, picks up points that he needed with one race to go in the Morning Call Rider of the Year. It's going to be an interesting one indeed. And we'll be back with the final race when we return. On the track now, the field made up of the top 12 riders in the standings, and here's the way they stack up. The only two that count for anything as far as the Rider of the Year points are concerned are the top two. Stephen Pate with an 8-point lead over Marty Nothstein, 40 points up for grabs for first place, and the situation for Nothstein is that he has to finish a place ahead of Stephen Pate and in the top three, or else he's got to beat him by a couple of spots in this final event of the night. The medical people have told Stephen Pate not to compete. They suspect he has internal injuries, bruised liver, bruised kidneys. He was actually spitting up a little bit of blood following the crash in the men's 10-mile event. But he is a tough Australian rider, and he has said, I'm racing to win. I'm not going to take this one sitting down, and he's out there. Tony Davis, the defending champion in the Morning Call Rider of the Year standings, is the guy leading the race. He was also figured in the crash. He was just in front of Tim Quigley, was slowing down, and when Quigley glanced over his shoulder to see the charging field, it was Davis who swung up into him a little bit and caused the crash. Quigley went down, Pate tumbled over him, and that's the situation right now. Bobby Livingston leading up front. One more rider to come out, and both of our protagonists are still in there. It looks like it's going to be Sean Wallace who is going to be the last guy out. Tony Davis came out the lap before, so we have a clean track. The two main men are still in there. It's Bobby Livingston leading right now. Remember, the situation is that Marty Nothstein has to beat Stephen Pate, and he has to beat him by at least one place. If he gets in the top three and beats Stephen Pate, he's good. Right now, it's Bob Livingston leading out. Marty Nothstein watching Stephen Pate coming around on the outside. The bell has rung. Pate attacks on the backstretch. Nothstein reacts a little slow. That's what he wanted to do. Now he sits on the wheel. Stephen Pate is going to take this one. Unbelievable. Stephen Pate, internal injuries after ragdolling down the track in the men's 10-mile, attacks Marty Nothstein on the backstretch and seems to have been destined to win not only this race coming up off the deck, but the Morning Call Rider of the Year overall prize. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, one of the toughest, fastest, most spectacular, and bravest bike racers you will ever see. Stephen Pate, rolling thunder from down under, being congratulated by the man that he has just beaten for the Morning Call Rider of the Year title. At age 22, Marty Nothstein will have to try again next year to win that title.